Dreamweaver is a fascinating technology. It's a tech sarcophagus that lets people have all kinds of virtual experiences. But it also lets people to relive recorded memories. And I am reliving one of mine right now. Look at this caterpillar. Alright. It seems like my memory involves a lot of ants and crabs and even an occasional caterpillar here and there. It's so peaceful here. What is it? A cave? Who is that talking? Oh, this looks like Girl from Fear. What's going on with this memory record? What the fuck?
Universe simulation ending. Emergency wake-up protocol activated. Early wake-up, Dr. Hudson. My name is Mo, the ship's AI. Please proceed to the reintegration area.
Oh, shit. What the hell was that? Okay. I was in a Dreamweaver, and now I am outside of it. I don't have any recollection of why I'm here, or even who I am, but I was addressed as Dr. Hudson, so I suppose let's go with that. Reintegration sounds nice, because I want to get up to speed with what the hell is going on here. Okay, so we are on a spaceship. We are definitely on a spaceship. And judging by these, there's not everything okay with this spaceship.
This is our current trajectory. We are on the 119th cycle on our journey from Earth.
Okay, good to know. We were heading to Paros. Welcome back. Okay, that's our sponsor corporations. That much I remember. But I would argue this is not much of a welcoming party. What's going on? Exactly. Long story short, the ship encountered something on its way and became infested with a pathogen known as ichor. Thus, the biomass is everywhere now. The ship was transporting a lot of people, I guess as a part of colonization effort of some sort. And the people are now running around in a zombie-like state. Also, the ship's automated systems, like drones and turrets that were on board, these security measures now shoot everything that moves. Also, there were some kind of military force on board that is barricaded now in most safe parts of the ship. And they pretty much also shoot anything that moves. There are also some survivors on board that haven't been infected, and they contacted me on the radio, and now I'm trying to get to a safe place where they reside to figure out what the hell is going on and how do we get out of it. This is our service pistol, and it has unlimited ammo. I was in love with service pistols with the blue glowing parts and unlimited ammo since Quake 4 probably. It shoots like this, and it has to regenerate electric charge, and then you flip it up and you're good to go. It's not used only as a weapon, but it's also a means of puzzle solving. It's involved in many game mechanics when you need to kickstart electric charge in something.
Someone there?
Who's talking?
Who's there?
Oh dear God. Alright. Okay. That's how we get our first key card. Fantastic.
4 aboard. Password denied. Denied.
Poor bastard.
Begin me. File complete.
He needed to be put out of his misery.
Didn't see anything.
Down to the rabbit hole we go. To top off everything that's going on with the ship, sudden interruptions of Dreamweaver sessions tend to do things to people. It's called a syndrome of mirage, and it causes hallucinations during which everything goes red,
You're nearing the Dreamweaver division.
and then it just goes back to normal. Also, it can cause nausea, disorientation, and memory loss, which explains a lot. These red hallucination things work more or less like demonic intermissions in Doom 3. They are partly jump scare, partly a game mechanic. There is a ton of PDA hunting in Memoreum, and there's a lot of searching for correct codes. But it's fairly typical for survival horror space games. Oh, this is an interesting enemy type. It's easily disposed with our service pistol, but the more interesting thing is what it actually is. It's a human skull, splitted, fractured, right down the middle, with some horn-like appendages. Yeah, this is what happens to people on the ship. This is Chimera, our primary weapon that we first find as a pumping shotgun, but it's an upgradable transformer that can be many things. For example, it can be an assault rifle, it can be an SMG, it can be two distinct kinds of shotguns, and it can also be a rifle with a bolt action. But there's a caveat to that. It can't be transformed on the go. You have to use these forge stations. that are found throughout the ship. And right now I want to switch up to SMG.
Particle Chimera. Lion Mark 1. Integration complete.
Needless to say, you reload your weapons manually in this game. And the good news is, all these fuckers fit on the same type of ammunition, which is a very nice simplification of the game mechanics, because we're in VR, we had a lot on our plate already, and it's nice to not juggle 10 different types of ammunition at once. Oh my god, there's a really extensive collection of pretty good books on this spaceship. Nice. There are climbable surfaces in Memoreum, and sometimes they function normally, and sometimes your equipment pretty much gets in the way. As you can see, I'm trying right now to grip this pipe, and instead I am extracting ammunition from my pockets, and it can cause a fall. It's a minor grievance, but I have to say that periodically it happens. This game has so much good DNA going on. I'm picking up Doom 3 vibes, Dead Space vibes. Oh, by the way, speaking about Dead Space, we have a pretty similar crates here. And these bluish jars are our upgrade currency, which we can spend for upgrading our weapons. So I'm also getting Prey 17 vibes from time to time, but more than anything else, this game reminds me of Celaco. Enemy encounters can be quite harsh and unforgiving. The zombies are pretty agile and fast. They can be staggered, but they can run towards you at very surprising speeds. So you have to always be ready. Well, what kind of space horror game it would be without comically oversized vent shafts? Of course. I love how everything has collisions here, including your gun and your hands, so you can shoot around the corners while your offhand functions as an anchor that reminds you where exactly you are in your space. There is another little immersive mechanic when it comes to the doors like this. Reminds me of reverse killing floor. Okay, what's that? A pair of shoes? Can I take a shoe? Yeah, I can take a shoe. Can I throw a shoe? Wonderful. What's that? Some kind of journal. Oh, we have physics here. This supposed sheet of paper acts like a very heavy and wet, very thick piece of paper. Nevertheless, it's a piece of paper, and we have physics for it, which is very nice and immersive. Another incredibly fun immersive mechanic involves unscrewing screws with an automatic tool. And let me tell you, haptics are doing something borderline fantastic here because it feels exactly like this instrument. Maybe a little bit weaker in terms of vibrations, but nevertheless. Unfortunately, when I try to be a little ambidextrous snob that I am and do it with my left hand, it does this. I'm not sure if you can see it right now, but every time I take it, it just does this. And here we go, there's another piece of immersive tech.
Wire detector integration complete.
It allows us to detect wires, to understand which electronics go where and what we can do about it. Little bits of puzzle solving. It doesn't only work with forklifts, it also allows us to sorta open electronic doors. This is a neat little terminal on which you can change the type of your chimera. It doesn't allow you to upgrade it, but you can change its type. Oh shit, here we go again! This fucking SMG has such inconveniently placed lever, but I think it's actually game mechanic. However absurd this may sound. But such things, they force you to get ready before you get involved in any kind of combat. Because if you haven't done them in time, you can end up in a situation in which everything has collision boxes. Your gun is right here, and zombie that attacks you is right here already, and you wouldn't be able to do fucking anything about it. So such little inconveniences, they force you to get ready beforehand. And maybe it's even a good thing. Oh shit. This is a nasty enemy type. Flashlight activates automatically when you enter a completely dark and unlit space. And on the surface, I don't mind. I don't have anything against this mechanic, but in this kind of game, considering that this is immersive sim, why take my agency away like that? And I can tell you more than that. There are unlit areas in this game which don't toggle the flashlight. And you can literally, you can't see rat's ass in such places. So I kinda understand where developers were coming from in this regard, because there are certain dark niches that your enemies leave behind after ambushing you from them and attacking you, and when you can't lit these niches up with flashlight and see that they really go nowhere, it like heightens the immersion a little bit. So I kinda get it, but I would prefer to have more agency over my own piece of equipment. This is the shit I live for, by the way. I always told people this. If you put a fan in comically oversized ventilation shaft and place some light source behind it, you get yourself a beautiful fucking light show that is pretty cheap to produce, and it looks fantastic, both on flat screen and especially in VR. Devs knew exactly what they were doing here. And they use it frequently throughout the game, as they should. Our torchlight can also be used to open cases like this. Their practicality is very questionable, but it works really well as VR mechanic. In typical immersive sim fashion, your upgrades completely depend on how good you are at finding these. By the way, look at this little fucker. I have to admit, 3D models here look mighty impressive, especially in stereoscopic 3D. E. Environmental storytelling. Fuck yeah. There is a lot of Baudelarian beauty in this game. I really applaud gore artists that made all this possible. Look at these maggots. Isn't this beautiful? My beautiful little maggot. In a typical Dead Space fashion, we get to walk the exterior of the ship. I can't emphasize enough how fantastic does this game look in VR. Huh. A little bit zero-G physics here and there. Now it reminds me of Prey 17 even more. Yo, look at that. Oh, I love to play with shit like this. This is so wonderful. A Half-Life crowbar. Oh my god, I'm feeling like a baby. Oh shit. Here we go again. That's Mirage for you. More zero-G physics, and we're back to normal. Well, in a very extended definition of normality. Oh, zero-G ragdolls. And this is some serious shit. I can't believe how good optimized all this is. Look at that! I'm dragging this dude by his head. Oh my god. Music sounds kinda like Mick Gordon. Oh, and that's for a reason, I think. Really? Is this how we find our double-barrel shotgun?
Integration complete.
Baron. Oh my god, this is so Doom. My sweet, sweet baby. We are going to have so much fun together. This thing packs a punch. Wonderful. Fantastic. By the way, I found out how to take this bolt unscrewing thingy with my left hand. You just have to take your backpack off with the right hand. However, in this case, if I'm trying to take it with my right hand, it does this shit again. I don't know what's up with that. This weapon is rumored to be really good for killing children, which is really handy in our situation. Yeah, you heard me right. We are heading towards education center. And apparently, we have zombified kids right now. Sick with ichor. Which is very unfortunate, but we have to defend ourselves somehow. That's why I'm carrying these. As well as this. We're searching for a girl from my Dreamweaver sequence, who apparently is my daughter. But this whole dead children thing has brought my mind to a very important point to talk to you about. And the point is about how environments in Memoreum are designed. You see, I'm very glad that games like Celaco, Prey 17, and Memoreum... Oh shit, it was a dead kid. Wonderful, fantastic. So, I love how modern space horror games like these bring this more posh, more glossy, more neon-touched take on the space horror theme. With all of these holographic plants, like screen backgrounds with nature and birds singing and all that. These are clearly environments that tried to make human existence in the circumstance of cold darkness of space as comfortable as possible. And it also includes like spaces for women and children, for example. I remember playing through campaign of Doom 3 and thinking to myself, like, yeah, Mars City has a lot of cool, like, video game environments, but this would absolutely suck balls to live in. And it's not like they even needed demonic invasion there to start eating each other in, like, a month or two. We had exclusively cold environments there that didn't look like they were designed to be lived in by humans. They were like exclusively functional. There were no aesthetic angle to it. And Ishimura Station from Dead Space didn't really go too far from that. It did slightly better job, but it also featured a lot of environments that looked absolutely fucking depressing to live in. And when you design your environments more like BioShock did, like they feel accommodating for most of human needs, the tragedy that unravels with these decorations as a backdrop feels way more impactful than if it just happens in like bunch of empty metal boxes in space that had like beds in them and some lighting, just purely functional. So I think Memoreum did exquisite job with its environment designs. It's not like it wasn't done before. I would argue the game takes many elements from many other games, so it's very formulaic specimen of space horror genre. But it doesn't take away from this game's own originality and its own firm position on its own 2 feet, because it's an interesting spin. It's a very classy spin on space horror that allows you to experience feelings that are very familiar to you from flat screen, but in VR. With all the VR's immersive mechanics and all this stuff. They could do way better job with fire sprites though. This looks kind of atrocious, and I remember torchlights from like the opening sequence of the game from the Dreamweaver, and it had better fire for some reason. What the hell happened here? Besides the security room with Chimera Station that you're already familiar with, we have a viewport with a beautiful view on this planet, and you wouldn't fucking believe that we even have the saloon.
Now what would someone like yourself want from old Mr. Woods?
And we have Mr. Woods. He's a cowboy alcoholic, and he would appreciate really greatly if you bring him bottles of rare booze, and he will grant you some upgrade currency for that. Also, we have additional upgrade system right here, and we can spend another slightly more rare upgrade currency to modify our gameplay slightly. Yeah, I love the shield one with the 10-second
Bet
recharge.
you didn't know about this.
And you just take it like this and put it inside of your backpack. And just like that, we're shielded now. How wonderful. And also we have Mr. Boat Food O Arcade Palace. And that's our buddy that sends us on these various missions. Of critical importance, no doubt.
You made it! I won't lie, you had me worried there for a second.
Another minor grievance that I have with this game, the more you upgrade your guns, the freaking longer they get. This is MK2. Now imagine how long MK3 is. Well, maybe it's not a problem for people with longer arms than me, but to me it's like kinda more and more difficult to hold onto the gun the more you upgrade them. Wow. This museum location reminds me a lot of Prey 17. It reminds me that we are on the ship that has like bars, theaters, prisons, bowling alleys, and
Is your official
this
chapter.
design philosophy
Please do not
jives
update and
with
please
how I
stay
perceive space horror as a genre so well.
That's just great. She's in full automation since the hack.
I could walk you through everything Museum has to offer, but this would add like half an hour to an already incredibly long video, and this would spoil a lot of things that you will be better off experiencing on yourself. What? Wait a second. We are in an immersive sim game. And when I shoot water with projectiles, the water doesn't react in any way. When I shoot water with electricity, the water does absolutely nothing. This is atrocious. Now, I know there is not a lot of bodies of water in this game. They are present at the start, on some places throughout the ship there are puddles, there are some leakage on the floor, so there ain't so much water everywhere around us in this game, but it still doesn't make any sense to me. If this is an immersive sim and there is water, it has to at least like make some splashes when I shoot it with anything. This is a major bummer. Well, first of all, this is a banger of a main menu. But second of all, let's talk about options real quick. And this will be a really short conversation because of how fucking scarce they are. So, we have gameplay options, snap turn or smooth turn with the stick, turn speed, okay. Now we have teleports for motion sick, we have sitting mode, we have highlights on interactable items, I imagine, and a left-handed mode. Well, thanks for that. At least that's something. Accessibility, disable teleports cooldown, not recommended. Then we can enable subtitles and enable text box for subtitles, and that's all of our accessibility. Besides that, we have audio that can mix dialogue volume, music volume, and sound effects volume. I would say at this point, you might just not put any settings here at all. I mean, thanks for accessibility options, of course, but like, please, if you're a VR developer and you're watching this video, please take a note. Gamers don't view VR as early consoles. We want options in our games. We want to play around with graphics, with controls, with everything we can adjust really. Now let's get into another thing about how save games in this game is structured. So you have 3 save game slots that basically are autosave slots for whatever level you're currently playing. In each one of them, they will just register the checkpoints. As you can see, this is my slot with a finished campaign. That took me 15 hours, but it can take 10 hours for people who don't maniacally read every PDA, who don't walk around, try to imagine how all of those dead people lived and all of that. It can easily do -5 hours on your first playthrough. Now, I understand the purpose of this save system. It locks you in. The game forces you to play it properly without any saves coming. When you're selecting a chapter or starting a new game, you're prompted with a difficulty selection. And there are 4 difficulties, but the 4th one is unlocked after you finish the campaign for the first time. I'm always playing on normal because I'm doing a review and I intend to review intended experience. Finally, I'm coming home. Oh shit! I thought we got rid of you! Motherfucker, oh my god, this guy has absolutely zero chill. Oh shit. Memoreum is an absolutely gorgeous looking game. And it's even more impressive that this game pulls it off autonomously on Quest. I think it strikes absolutely perfect balance between looking gorgeous, being really gentle on your battery, and running smoothly as butter. Which cannot be said for most titles on MetaQuest, to be honest. And to achieve this balance, Memoreum does a lot of really devilish trickery from previous generations of graphics that I know and love. For example, using mirrors that act as if they reflect something but they really don't, Or like parsing the reflection effects into tiny little squares. As you can see, this is clearly not the Rubik's Cube, but you can see the squares all over it, hopefully, as you can see on the mirror as well. This is a really neat trick to save some video memory. Yet another very clever and cool trick for optimization purposes that developers have used here is different drawing distances for details of different effects. Most people wouldn't probably even notice it in motion, but if you specifically look for it, you can see how reflections and pools of blood like render and become more detailed in real time. Memoreum uses the same PBR shader, or at least very similar to the one that is used in the latest update of the Doom 3 port by Team Beef. And in here I have the exactly same gripes with it that I had in there. It doesn't work well with anti-aliasing, and the further you get from the object, the heavier it shows the pixelation because of how white it is and how contrasted it is to everything else. But I find it slightly less distractive in Memoriam because instead of being just an afterthought by a team of modders, I think these environments were designed with all of the effects and shaders in mind. I don't know if you're into such things, but you can hit somebody's family photo with a grilled chicken leg. I'm certainly into it. The only thing it lacks is sound, to be honest. It puzzles me to the core why developers didn't do anything interesting with bodies of water, didn't add any immersive effects to them. However, you can play with water leaks and you can obstruct them, and it's possible with any object, including your hands, your gun, any item you can hold. And yeah, technically these are just sprites that you can obstruct, but this is exactly the kind of neat little detail that deepens and heightens the immersion. This is what immersive sim in VR should feel like. And by the way, the sprites have their own spread, but it's not very visible with these particular leaks due to their verticality. Wow! Now that was a trip, wasn't it? I've tried my best to show and tell everything that I wanted to about this game without spoiling too much critical plot twists and story points, because I tell you what, you can play this game for the story alone. It's extremely well written. That's why I wanted to avoid spoiling it. It doesn't feature a boatload of characters or any kind of 5D complexity. It's a modest and humble story that takes itself seriously, that features a few characters that are very well fleshed out, very well developed, and because of that, it feels more personal, more intimate. But it has a nice scope and the stakes are extremely high. Basically, the fate of entire human race is lingering on your failure or success. So this contrast works really well, and I think this is exactly what story should feel and look like in a good space horror game. Now, there is a lot of stuff in Memoriam that I haven't covered because this game just has so much going on. There are boss fights, chase sequences, epic one offs like that spacewalk, and the museum sequence that I barely showcased. And there is just so much to discover for yourself. Now, aforementioned boss fights are obviously a very important part of the game, and they can be split into two categories. One is a humanoid boss fights. One is with a high ranking army official, and the other one is with Rogue Cyborg that is also involved in the chase sequences. The humanoid boss fights can be best described as Deus Ex boss fights. So basically, they feel like an afterthought. There's nothing really special about them. It's always a big hole with a bunch of covers, and you two running around trying your best to whack each other to death. But I would argue VR makes it so much more interesting just because of a heightened effect of presence. The second category of boss fights was arguably way more fun than the first one, because it's fights with sentient biomass bosses, which basically means that you are attacked by giant meat stacks, tentacles, and everything else organic from wherever. And these fights are interesting because it's not just shoot it until it dies. They involve weak points, they require tactics and strategy to beat these bosses. So they are real proper boss fights. And they are full of surprises too. I have to emphasize that Memoriam is a very linear experience. Despite featuring a lot of backtracking, it doesn't feel like Metroidvania at all. Cause most of your backtracking is too fucking obvious, and some of it is even scripted. Which means that game actively locks you out of the locations that you don't need to be in at the moment. So in that sense, it's nothing like Celico. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and it doesn't mean that locations are not interesting to explore. Believe me, they very much fucking are. It's just I'm warning you that don't expect that kind of thing in this kind of game. Okay? Okay. Also, despite featuring a lot of good roleplay elements, like a good story, well fleshed characters, and a lot of immersive mechanics that help you to be sucked into the game world, it doesn't feel like a full on RPG either, because of a lack of player agency, so to speak. So, to simplify it, I would just say it treats player agency like Doom 3. So, there is an occasional choice here and there, but they don't really affect the plot or the story or any of the outcomes. And it was kind of a bummer for me because I prefer the approach that Prey 17 took, for example. I love to play games like this in very particular fashion. I like to do everything right, help everybody be basically goody two shoes for most of the game, and then in the end, I fuck everyone over and completely ruin everything. And Memoriam doesn't let you do that. The only choice you really have is to be a hero. And I guess this is just the kind of game it is. Now, I heard some people running into performance issues with this game. And to be honest, I didn't run into any. On the contrary, I was very much surprised by how smooth the game runs for how good it looks. It's kind of crazy. And it's not as silky as the games with way smaller textures and assets that doesn't have to render a lot of lighting and all the shit that Memoriam features. Now, I didn't measure it exactly, but it runs in something that feels like native 72 Hz. And considering that Memoriam doesn't really feature any rapid movements, it's pretty chill movement wise. It hits right home. I had no problems with it whatsoever. I had like occasional stutter here and there 2 or 3 times. But for like 97% of time, the game did run smoothly. Now, to sum it up, would I recommend Memoriam VR, and do I think that it is adequately priced? And for fuck's sake, answers to both of those questions are yes and yes. It costs only $30 on Meta Horizon Store, and in my not very humble opinion, it has like 50 or $60 worth of content going on in it. So, if you're a fan of space horror genre, or you want to get greedy, scary, well written, and really immersive experience, go buy Memoriam right now. I freaking endorse it. This game is absolutely wonderful, and despite some of its shortcomings, it's absolutely worth its money. And I would argue it's worth even more than that. This video took an ungodly amount of time to produce. And I want to personally thank each and every one of my 84 subscribers. Thank you guys for staying in tune, for being patient with me. You know how it is. Work gets in the way, life gets in the way. These videos are becoming increasingly, progressively harder to produce. And I thank you for not unsubscribing while I don't upload anything. You guys are awesome. Now, if you're not one of my subscribers, you might consider becoming one, because ability to tolerate me being extra autistic about a VR game for like an hour is exact quality that I look for in a potential subscriber. Please don't forget to smash the like button and leave a comment, because it helps a lot, especially it helps small creators like me. I was Walter the Jester, and this was Memoriam Deep Dive Review. You have yourself a nice day there, okay? Jester out.